I woke up to an empty key hook and my wife standing in the doorway like a locked gate. "You're not driving anywhere today," she said. A minute later, the school called, and I realized someone had already gotten there before me. New Orleans, Louisiana has a way of making even normal mornings feel damp and heavy, like the air itself is holding secrets. Our apartment always smelled faintly of chicory coffee and my daughter's strawberry shampoo, and I used to think that meant we were okay, that we were a family with routines, lunches packed, shoes lined up, kisses at the door, the kind of life you can defend in your head when work gets brutal and bills keep showing up like uninvited relatives. That morning, the routine didn't break with a shout. It broke with a quiet choice. The kitchen light was too bright for 6:40 a.m. The overhead fan clicked like it was counting seconds. My daughter, Mia, stood near the fridge in her uniform polo, backpack on one shoulder, rubbing sleep out of one eye. On the counter, a crumpled receipt from the corner store, my work badge, her half-finished science project poster rolled into a tube, and my phone buzzing itself across the laminate like it wanted to escape. Elena had her hair pulled back tight. No makeup, no softness. She held her own phone in one hand, screen faced inward, and the other hand rested on the doorframe like she owned the exit. "I can't find my keys," I said, trying to keep my voice flat. I checked the hook again like the keys might appear out of guilt. Elena didn't blink. "Because I moved them." I laughed once because it was so absurd my brain refused to accept it. "You what?" "You heard me," she said. "You're not driving anywhere today." Mia's eyes flicked between us. Her fingers tightened on her backpack strap. The quiet in her face hit me harder than any argument could. "Elena," I said carefully, "I have work." "You can call in," she replied, "or take a ride. You just—" She paused and lowered her voice like she was doing me a favor. "You're not going to show up and make things worse." That sentence didn't belong in our kitchen. It belonged in a courtroom, or a meeting, or somewhere people say, "For the record." "What things?" I asked. Elena's jaw clenched. "Don't do this," she said, eyes darting to Mia. "Not in front of her." I looked at my daughter and tried to soften my face. "Mia, go grab your water bottle," I said gently. She didn't move. She just stared at Elena like she was waiting for permission to be a kid again. Elena's phone buzzed. She glanced down fast, then flipped it over like it burned. I saw only a flash of a message preview before it disappeared. One word, all caps. Today. My own phone vibrated again. A text from Elena came through even though she was standing 3 feet away. "Elena, please, don't go to the school today." I stared at it, then up at her. "You're texting me from across the room?" I asked. Her eyes stayed hard. "So you don't twist my words later," she said. That was the first quiet horror. Realizing the person you married has started collecting evidence against you like it's a hobby. Before I could answer, my phone rang. The caller ID read, Mia's School. My stomach dropped so fast I felt it in my knees. I answered. Voice instantly controlled the way fathers learn to control it. "Hello." A calm administrative voice came through. Too calm, like bad news rehearsed in a mirror. "Mr. Rivera, this is the front office at Mia's school. We need you to come in as soon as possible." "What happened?" I asked, already stepping toward the door. Elena moved her body to block me without touching me. It was subtle, perfect, like she'd practiced. "I'm sorry," the receptionist said. "I can't discuss details over the phone. We need a parent in person." "I am the parent," I said, and my voice cracked on the last word. There was a pause, then the receptionist's tone shifted. Still polite, but colder. We already have someone here with authorization. We're requesting you come in. But please, come calmly. I stared at Elena like she had slapped me. Who's there? I asked, even though my gut already answered. Elena's lips pressed together. I didn't do anything, she whispered, but the whisper sounded like a lie trying to be small. I ended the call and reached for the door handle. Elena didn't grab me. She didn't scream. She just stood there and said, quiet as a prayer, if you go in there angry, you'll prove them right. Them, I repeated. Who is them, Elena? Mia's breath hitched. She shifted closer to the counter, eyes wet, trying not to cry. My daughter was already learning the shape of fear, and it was happening in my kitchen. I swallowed hard. Mia, I said softly. Sweetheart, did something happen at school yesterday? Mia shook her head fast, then hesitated. That hesitation felt like a door opening under my feet. I didn't do anything, she whispered. But Ms. Larkin told me to go to the office after lunch. And then, they talked to Mom. Elena flinched at the name like it meant something deeper than a teacher. I turned back to Elena. Why are you doing this? I asked, keeping my voice low. Why are you stopping me from taking my own child to school? Elena's eyes flashed. Because you don't listen, she hissed. Because you show up and you push and you make people uncomfortable and then I'm the one cleaning it up. That's not true, I said, but my voice didn't have space to be convincing. Another buzz on my phone, this time a voicemail notification. The school had left one anyway, like they wanted a timestamp. I tapped it, put it on speaker without thinking. The receptionist's recorded voice filled our kitchen. Mr. Rivera, please come to the office immediately. We have concerns about Mia's safety and her home situation. Please check in at the front desk. Thank you. Mia made a small sound and covered her mouth. Concerns. Safety. Home situation. Those words didn't just describe a problem. They built a cage around me. Elena's face went pale, but she didn't look surprised. She looked prepared. I stepped back from the door, breathing hard through my nose, trying to not become the version of me they were clearly expecting. I reached for my phone and texted my best friend, Kareem, the only person I trusted to tell me the truth, even when it hurt. Marcus. School called, says safety and home situation. Elena hides my keys. Can you meet me there? Before I could hit send, Elena's hand snapped out, not to grab my phone, but to cover Mia's ears, like she thought that would protect her from reality. Mia doesn't need to hear this, Elena said sharply. Mia is living this, I replied. Mia pulled away from Elena's hand and looked up at me, tears finally spilling. Dad, she whispered, are they going to make you leave? My chest tightened so hard it felt like the air in the room got sucked out. No, I said quickly, kneeling so I could look her in the eyes. Nobody is making me leave. Elena's voice cut in, quiet and deadly. Don't promise what you can't control. That was the second quiet horror, realizing my wife was talking to me like I was already gone. I stood up slowly, hands open, and tried a different route. Okay, I said, forcing calm into my voice. If you don't want me driving, I'll take an Uber, but I'm going to the school. Now. Elena shook her head. You're not, she said. I stared at her. Are you going to physically stop me? She didn't answer. She just lifted her phone and tapped once. A second later, my phone buzzed with another text. This one not from her. Unknown number. Don't come. We have witnesses ready. My skin went cold. I looked up at Elena, and for a split second, her eyes flicked toward the living room window, toward the parking lot. I followed her glance. Down below, near the curb, a car idled with its headlights off. Inside, I could make out two silhouettes, still as statues. One of them lifted a phone, screen glowing like they were already recording. Elena's voice came out soft, almost kind. "Please," she said, "don't make today worse." My phone buzzed again. This time, a reply from Kareem. "Kareem, on my way. Don't go alone." I looked at Mia, then back at the window, then at Elena. The air felt thick. My own home felt staged. And that's when I heard a knock at the apartment door. 3 taps, slow and confident, like whoever was on the other side already knew exactly how this was going to end. The knock came again. 3 taps, then a pause, like whoever stood out there had all the time in the world. Elena didn't move to open it. She didn't need to. She already knew who it was. Mia's eyes were huge. She hugged her backpack tighter to her chest like it was armor. I took a slow breath and walked to the door with my hands open. Careful, like I was approaching a wild animal that might bite if I moved too fast. When I opened it, 2 people stood in the hall. The first was Nadia, Elena's cousin, wearing a cardigan that looked too neat for this early hour, hair perfect, lips pressed into a little line of concern. The second was a man I'd met exactly twice at family cookouts. Elena's older brother, Victor, broad-shouldered, arms crossed, face already annoyed like my existence inconvenienced him. Behind them, half a step back, was a third person. A woman from our building I only knew as Mrs. Howard, the neighbor who always had opinions about noise, parking, and the way people raise their kids. She held her phone down at her side, screen lit, camera pointed just slightly upward like she was trying to be discreet while failing. There it was, the witness. "Marcus," Nadia said first, voice gentle, weaponized. "We heard there was a situation." I glanced at Elena. She stood behind me, her phone in her hand. She didn't look surprised to see them. She looked relieved. "What are you doing here?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. Victor's eyes swept past me into our apartment like he had a right. "We're here to make sure nobody gets hurt," he said. Elena called. Elena's chin lifted. "I didn't call," she said quickly, then corrected herself like she caught her own lie. "I texted Nadia. I said I needed support." Support. That word landed like a brick. Mia appeared behind my leg, peeking around my hip. Nadia's face softened in a way that made my skin crawl. "Hi, baby," Nadia cooed. "It's okay. Everybody's calm." Mia didn't answer. She just stared at Nadia's phone, the one Nadia held face down like a secret. I stepped into the hallway, closing the door behind me so Mia wouldn't be in their line of sight. I could feel Elena's eyes on my back. "Why are there witnesses?" I asked Nadia quietly. Nadia raised her brows. "Because Elena's scared," she said. I stared at her. "Scared of what?" Victor snorted. "Of you," he said like it was obvious. A hot pulse moved through my neck, but I kept my voice low. "I haven't done anything," I said. "I'm trying to get to my daughter's school." Victor leaned closer, and I could smell mint gum on his breath. "You're not taking her anywhere," he said. "Not until the school talks to Elena." "The school called me," I replied. "They asked for a parent." Nadia smiled sadly, like I was a child who didn't understand the rules. "They asked for the parent who's currently trusted," she said. "Trusted." The word made my hands want to curl into fists. I forced them to stay open. "You're staging this," I said softly, mostly to myself. Mrs. Howard shifted, her phone rising a little higher. Victor noticed and nodded once, like, "Good." That tiny nod was the third quiet horror, realizing the people around you aren't just watching, they're coordinating. My phone buzzed again. I didn't pull it out. I could feel the eyes on me, hungry for a reaction. Elena opened the door a crack. "Marcus," she called, voice sweet enough to poison tea. "Please don't start." "Don't start what?" I asked, turning back toward her. "Trying to see what's happening with our kid?" Nadia stepped between us, palms up. "Let's all breathe," she said, performing calm. "No one is saying you can't see Mia. We're saying we need to do it the right way." Victor added, "And the right way is you staying here until we figure out what the school's filing." I stared at him. "What the school's filing?" I repeated. Victor didn't answer directly. He just glanced at Elena like he'd said too much. Elena's eyes flashed, then she smoothed her face again. "They have concerns," she said. "Mia told her teacher some things." My blood ran cold. "What things?" Elena hesitated, just long enough for me to see she was choosing words like a lawyer. She said, "She's scared when you get angry," Elena whispered. I looked past her into the kitchen where Mia stood frozen, watching us through the crack in the door. Her cheeks were wet. Her mouth trembled like she was trying not to betray anyone. "Mia," I said gently, "did you tell someone you're scared of me?" Mia's eyes darted to Elena, then to Nadia, then back to me. She shook her head a tiny bit, almost nothing, like she was afraid even her hair moving would get her in trouble. Elena's voice sharpened. "Stop interrogating her," she snapped. I swallowed hard. "I'm not interrogating her," I said quietly. "I'm trying to understand why my keys are missing and a car is waiting outside and strangers are texting me." Nadia's face tightened for the first time. "What strangers?" she asked too fast. I pulled my phone out slowly and showed them the screen without unlocking it, just enough for them to see the unknown number's last message preview. "Don't come. We have witnesses ready." Victor's eyes flicked away. Nadia's lips parted, then closed. Elena's voice went small. "Marcus, maybe you should sit," she said. "You're spiraling." Spiraling. Another word that didn't belong in our home unless someone wanted it in a report. I felt my heartbeat in my fingertips. I looked down the hallway toward the stairwell, the exit, the morning light beyond the building. I could take off running right now. I could call 911. I could do 100 things, and every single one of them would become the story they wanted. I heard Kareem's car door slam outside in the parking lot. Relief hit me so hard I almost swayed. A second later, a deep voice called from the hallway behind the stairwell. "Marcus!" Kareem came into view, tall, broad, wearing a hoodie and jeans like he'd rolled out of bed and drove straight here. His eyes took in the scene in half a second. Victor blocking the hall, Nadia's fake calm, Mrs. Howard's phone, Elena behind the door like a director behind a curtain. Kareem's face went tight. "What the hell is this?" he asked. Victor squared up like he'd been waiting for a man to confront. "Who are you?" he demanded. Kareem didn't flinch. "I'm the witness he called," he said, pulling out his own phone and lifting it openly. "Since y'all like witnesses." Mrs. Howard's phone rose higher. Nadia's smile returned, brittle. Elena's face flickered. Fear and anger mixed together. "This is getting hostile," Nadia said quickly, eyes on Kareem's camera. It was hostile the second you showed up with a neighbor filming, Kareem shot back. I exhaled slowly, steadying myself. Kareem, I said, keeping my voice controlled. The school called. They won't tell me details. They said someone with authorization is already there. Kareem's eyes narrowed. Who? Elena answered before I could. Me, she said. I'm going. You're going now? I asked. Elena lifted her chin. Yes, she said, with Nadia. Kareem's laugh was short and sharp. So he can't go, he said, gesturing at me. But you can go with a whole entourage. Victor crossed his arms. He's unstable, he said, like he was reading a label. Kareem stepped closer, phone up, voice loud enough to echo down the hall. Say that again, he said. Say exactly why he can't see his kid. Victor's eyes flicked to Elena. Elena didn't stop him. Victor looked back at Kareem. Because if he shows up, it escalates, he said, and the school doesn't want a scene. Kareem nodded slowly. So the plan is to keep him away, then claim he abandoned her, he said. Got it. Elena's face flashed. That's not the plan, she snapped. Then hand him his keys, Kareem said, simple. Elena didn't move. The silence in that hallway stretched, thick and humiliating. Mrs. Howard's phone kept recording. Nadia's eyes stayed soft, but her posture was like a shield. I looked at Elena and realized something new. Not just that she was doing this, but that she was doing it with backup. Her family, my neighbors, a car outside, a teacher at school, maybe HR at my job. This wasn't a fight. It was a coordinated campaign. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from my supervisor at the construction site. Supervisor, HR needs you in today. Do not come to the yard. Call me ASAP. My stomach dropped. Kareem saw my face. What? He asked. I showed him the message. Kareem's jaw clenched. They're hitting you from multiple angles, he said quietly. Elena's eyes flicked to my phone screen, and for a split second, I saw panic. Real panic. Then she covered it with righteousness. I told you, she said. You're making problems everywhere. I stared at her. No, I said softly. Someone is making them for me. At that exact moment, Mia's small voice came from behind the door, trembling. Mom? She whispered. Please don't. The hallway went still. Elena's face tightened. Nadia stepped toward the door like she wanted to handle Mia, too. Kareem's phone stayed up. Victor shifted his weight. Mrs. Howard leaned in, hungry. And my daughter, my little girl, was on the other side of a door, begging her own mother for something she couldn't even name. I took one slow step toward the door. Elena's voice snapped, sharp. Don't. Kareem moved with me, shoulder to shoulder, witness to witness. I put my hand on the doorknob anyway, not turning it, just resting there, feeling the cold metal under my palm. Mia, I said softly through the door. I'm here. I'm not leaving you. On the other side, Mia made a sound like she was trying not to cry. Then Elena's phone buzzed and she looked down. Her face went pale. Nadia leaned in. What? She whispered. Elena swallowed, eyes wide. The school, she said. They're saying there's a written report now. A report about what? I asked. Elena didn't answer me. She looked at Victor, then at Nadia, then at Kareem's phone. And finally, she looked at me with something like fear, not of me, but of what she'd unleashed. They want a meeting, she whispered, and they want you to sign something. My heart thudded once, heavy and slow. Sign what? I asked. Elena's lips trembled. Then Nadia's phone buzzed, and she read the preview out loud without meaning to. Miss Larkin confirmed. He's on his way. I froze, because I knew exactly who he could be, and why a teacher's confirmation would matter at all. We left the apartment in a weird procession that didn't feel like a family at all. It felt like a scene being escorted to its location. Kareem stayed at my side. Victor walked a half-step behind me like a shadow with muscles. Nadia kept close to Elena, whispering into her ear like a coach. Elena stayed on my right, always on my right, phone in her hand, face set like she'd already decided what I was allowed to say. In the parking lot, the idling car I'd seen earlier rolled forward as we passed, slow as a shark. The driver didn't wave. They just watched. Kareem noticed and angled his body between me and the car on instinct. My work badge bounced against my chest, useless. I still didn't have my keys. Mia's crumpled store receipt was still in my pocket like proof of a normal morning that was already gone. The school was only 10 minutes away, but it felt like crossing state lines. When we pulled up, Elena's calm slipped for a second. She scanned the front entrance like she was looking for someone specific. A man in a khaki jacket stood near the flagpole with a clipboard, talking to a woman in a navy blazer. They glanced over. The man's eyes landed on me. Then he looked away fast. Kareem leaned in. "You see that?" he murmured. "Yeah," I said, throat tight. That was the fourth quiet horror. Realizing strangers at your kid's school might already know your name before you even speak. Inside, the front office smelled like pencil shavings and air freshener. A sign on the counter said, "Please have ID ready." My hands were empty except for my phone and the thin string of control I was trying not to drop. The receptionist looked up, then down, then up again, like she was matching my face to something on her screen. "Mr. Rivera," she said, not a question. I forced a nod. "Yes, I'm here for Mia." Elena stepped closer, positioning herself just slightly in front of me. "I'm her mother," she said smoothly. "Elena Rivera." The receptionist's eyes softened for Elena the way they never softened for me. "Thank you for coming," she said to Elena. Then her gaze shifted back to me and tightened. "We'll need you to wait." "Wait where?" I asked. She gestured toward a hallway. "Conference room B." Victor put a hand on my shoulder. Light, controlling, performative. "Let's just cooperate," he said loud enough for the receptionist to hear. Kareem's phone was out. Not hidden. Open. "We are cooperating," he said, recording everything. "But he's Mia's father. He's not waiting in a corner like a stranger." The receptionist's smile froze. "School policy," she said, and tapped her keyboard like that made it law. "We have a meeting set." A door opened down the hall and a woman stepped out holding a folder. Navy blazer, tight bun, calm face, the kind of calm that comes from practice. "Mr. Rivera?" she called. I started forward. Elena moved with me, shoulder to shoulder, still on my right. Nadia and Victor followed. Kareem stayed close, like a human seatbelt. The conference room was too small for that many bodies. A long table, 6 chairs, a box of tissues, a pitcher of water with paper cups, and a single pen placed perfectly in front of a stack of papers. On the wall was a poster about kind words and a little clock ticking too loudly. Sitting at the far end was Ms. Larkin, Mia's teacher. She didn't look at me like a teacher looks at a parent. She looked at me like a witness looks at the accused. Her hands were folded neatly over a notebook, and her phone was face down beside it. Next to her sat the woman from the hallway, principal or counselor or both. and the man in the khaki jacket with the clipboard sat slightly behind them, angled like he wasn't officially part of the meeting but wanted to hear every word. My stomach rolled. "Thank you for coming in," the woman said, voice warm. "I'm Miss Dufresne, assistant principal." I sat. Elena sat immediately on my right, close enough that her knee brushed mine like a claim. Kareem took the chair on my left. Victor stood behind me. Nadia stood behind Elena. The room felt like pressure. Miss Dufresne opened the folder. "We're going to keep this calm and child-focused," she said, eyes on me. "Mia reported some things yesterday." "I want to see my daughter," I said. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. "Is she okay?" Miss Larkin spoke up before anyone else could. "She's safe," she said. "She's in the counselor's office." "Can I see her?" I asked again. Miss Dufresne held up a palm, not unkind. "Soon, but we need to address what she shared." I looked at Elena. "What did she share?" I asked, but I was asking Elena in the room at the same time. Elena stared straight ahead like she was listening to a podcast. Ms. Dufresne slid a sheet of paper across the table toward me. It wasn't official looking, no letterhead, but it was written like it wanted to become official. At the top, it said, "Safety Plan. Temporary." My heart hammered. "This is not a punishment," Ms. Dufresne said quickly like she'd said that line 1,000 times. "It's a precaution." Kareem leaned forward. "A precaution against what?" he asked. Miss Larkin finally looked directly at me. "Mia said she gets scared when voices get loud at home," she said. "And she said she worries about what happens when you're upset." I felt heat crawl up my neck. "I've never hurt my child," I said carefully. "I've never laid a hand on her." Nobody said I did, but the air in that room acted like I had. Miss Dufresne nodded slowly. "We're not accusing you of physical harm," she said, "but we have a responsibility to respond when a student expresses fear." Elena's phone buzzed. She didn't even look at it. That's how ready she was. I leaned forward and lowered my voice, trying to keep it human. "My daughter is 9, I said. "If she's scared, I want to know why. I want to fix it, but I need to see her. I need to talk to her." Ms. Dufresne slid the pen toward me like it was a peace offering. "This plan outlines how pickups will work for the next 2 weeks," she said, "to reduce stress for Mia." 2 weeks. My mouth went dry. Kareem read over my shoulder. His face tightened. "This says only the mother can pick her up," he said, "and the father's contact is restricted, pending review." Elena's eyes flicked to the paper, then away, like she didn't want to seem too eager. "That's not what it says," Elena murmured, but her voice didn't carry conviction. Miss Larkin tapped her notebook. "We also have documentation," she said, and she finally flipped her phone over. The screen lit up. She didn't hand it to me. She turned it so Ms. Dufresne could see. Ms. Dufresne's expression changed, just slightly. "What documentation?" I asked. Ms. Dufresne hesitated, then slid another page toward me. It was a printed screenshot of a message thread. Not Mia's handwriting. Not a school form. A phone screenshot printed on cheap paper like someone had rushed it out. My stomach turned as I recognized Elena's contact photo at the top of the thread. And beneath it, messages I had never seen before. Miss Larkin. "I'm concerned about this morning. Is he coming?" Elena. "Yes, but please keep him out of the office." Miss Larkin. "Understood. We have a witness." A witness. The same word from the unknown number. I looked up slowly. "Why does a teacher need a witness?" I asked, my voice too quiet. Miss Larkin's cheeks flushed. "For staff safety," she said quickly. Kareem's phone stayed up. "Or for a story," he muttered. Ms. Dufresne cleared her throat. "Mr. Rivera, we're asking you to sign the temporary plan while we follow protocol," she said. "You can refuse, but that will change next steps." "What next steps?" I asked. She didn't answer. She just pushed the pen closer. That was the fifth quiet horror, being asked to sign your own removal with a friendly smile and a cup of water. I took the paper in my hands. The pen sat there like a trap. Elena's knee pressed against mine again, faint but firm, like a reminder of who controlled the day. I looked at Elena. "Did you arrange this?" I asked. Elena finally turned her head and met my eyes. Her gaze was wet, but not soft. "I arranged peace," she whispered. "You just can't stand not being in charge." Kareem exhaled sharply. "This isn't peace," he said. "This is a setup." Victor spoke from behind me, voice low and satisfied. "Sign it," he said, "or make yourself look guilty." I stared at the printed screenshot again, the way it used the word witness like it was normal. And then something else caught my eye. Tiny, easy to miss. In the corner of the screenshot, the timestamp didn't match yesterday's date. It matched this morning. But the message thread showed texts sent at a time when I was still in my kitchen, looking for my keys. My hands went cold. I looked up at Ms. Larkin, then at Ms. Dufresne. "Who took this screenshot?" I asked. Ms. Larkin's eyes flicked just once to Elena's phone, and Elena's phone, still in her hand on my right, buzzed again. This time, the preview was visible. "HR, please confirm you'll sign the statement today." My breath caught, because now I understood. The school wasn't the only meeting waiting for my signature, and whatever they wanted me to sign was already written like I'd agreed. I didn't pick up the pen. I kept my hands flat on the paper, like if I moved too fast, the whole room would snap shut around me. Ms. Dufresne watched my fingers. Ms. Larkin watched my face. Elena watched the pen like it was a finish line. "I'm not signing anything I didn't write," I said. My voice came out quieter than I expected. "Not without reading it with someone who isn't sitting in this room." Ms. Dufresne's smile didn't drop, but it thinned. "That's your choice," she said, "but we still have to follow protocol." Kareem leaned forward. "Protocol doesn't mean ambush," he said. His phone stayed up, steady, and that steadiness was the only thing keeping me from shaking. Elena exhaled like I was exhausting her. "Marcus, please," she whispered. "Just sign it so Mia can relax." "Mia isn't relaxing," I said, and my throat tightened on my daughter's name. "Mia is scared because adults keep turning her into a weapon." Miss Larkin's eyes flashed. "That's inappropriate," she said. "What's inappropriate is a teacher texting my wife about witnesses." I shot back before I could stop myself. The room went stiff. The clock ticked loud. Ms. Dufresne's hand moved, small, controlled, closing the folder like she was putting a lid on a fire. "Mr. Rivera," she said, tone firmer now, "we can't let this become hostile." Victor's voice came from behind me, low and satisfied. "He's doing it again," he murmured like he was narrating my downfall. I turned my head just enough to see him. "Stop talking about me like I'm not here," I said. Ms. Dufresne's eyes flicked to Victor, then back to me. "We're going to take a pause," she said, "and then you'll have a supervised conversation with Mia in the counselor's office." My heart jumped and sank at the same time. Supervised, like I was a risk. Elena stood immediately, like she'd been waiting for that moment. Nadia followed her. Kareem stood with me. Victor hovered. The counselor's office was softer. Beanbag chairs, drawings on the wall, a little lamp instead of fluorescent light. Mia sat on a small couch with her legs tucked up, twisting the strap of her backpack around her fingers until her knuckles went pale. A woman with kind eyes sat in a chair beside her, hands folded. Mia looked up and her face broke in that silent way kids do when they're trying to be brave and failing. I took one step toward her and stopped, because the counselor raised a palm. Not a stop sign, but a boundary. Another invisible line. "Mia," I said gently. "Hey, Peanut." Her lips trembled. She slid off the couch and came toward me, then stopped halfway like she didn't know if she was allowed to finish the movement. That tiny hesitation tore something open in my chest. Elena stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching like a guard. Kareem stayed behind me. The counselor gave me a measured smile. "You can sit," she said, indicating a chair across from Mia. Not next to her. Across. I sat. Mia's eyes kept darting to Elena, then back to me. I hated that her body already knew how to read the room for safety. "I got called in today," I told her quietly. "I didn't know why. Did something happen at school?" Mia swallowed. "Miss Larkin said." "I had to tell," she whispered. "Tell what?" I asked, and kept my voice soft, even though every part of me wanted to grab her and run. Mia's fingers tightened around the backpack strap. "She asked if you yell," she said. And I said, "Sometimes. When you're stressed." I nodded slowly. "That's fair," I said. "I've been stressed, but I'm never mad at you." Mia's eyes filled again. "Then she asked if I'm scared," she whispered, "and I said I don't like it when you and Mom get quiet, like the air is heavy." My stomach turned. Quiet, heavy, the stuff adults think kids don't notice. The counselor leaned in slightly. "Mia felt tension," she said carefully. "That matters." "It matters," I agreed, voice rough. "But it's not the same as me being dangerous." Mia finally looked straight at me. "I didn't say you hurt me," she said, urgent and small. "I didn't." Elena's breath hitched behind us. The counselor's eyes flicked toward the doorway. Mia's voice dropped to a whisper. "Mom said if I told the truth, it would help everyone calm down," she said. But everyone got louder. A cold wave ran through me. I looked at Elena. She didn't look away. She just tightened her arms over her chest and stared like she could will me to behave. I leaned forward, keeping my hands on my knees so no one could accuse me of anything. "Mia," I said, "you don't have to carry grown-up problems." She nodded, but her face didn't believe me. The counselor cleared her throat. "That's enough for today," she said softly. "We want Mia to feel safe." Safe. That word again, used like a key that locked me out. As we stepped back into the hallway, my phone buzzed. This time it wasn't HR. It was a voicemail notification from a number I knew by heart. My brother. Voicemail. Diego, 0.17. "Hey man, call me when you can. I heard some stuff. Don't go in there alone, okay? Just call me, please." His voice sounded wrong. Too careful. Like he was choosing every word. Kareem saw my face. "Your brother?" he asked. I nodded, thumb hovering over the play button like it might bite me. Elena heard the name anyway. Her eyes flicked, quick, almost panicked, Then she smoothed her expression and walked ahead with Nadia like nothing happened. On the way out of the school, Ms. Dufresne stopped me at the office counter and spoke in a tone that sounded polite but felt like a warning. "We'll be documenting today's interaction," she said. "You'll receive a copy." "A copy of what?" I asked. She tapped the folder. "Notes," she said, "and next steps." Next steps, like I'd already stepped off a cliff. Outside, the parking lot felt too bright. The same car from earlier rolled by again, slow. The driver's window was down this time. A phone was visible in their hand, angled toward us. Kareem lifted his own phone higher. "Smile for the cameras," he muttered. Elena didn't get into our car. She didn't even look at me. "I'm going to HR," she said, like she was announcing a dentist appointment. "They need a statement, too." "A statement about what?" I asked. She finally met my eyes. "About your behavior," she said. "About the environment at home." I stared at her. "You're doing this everywhere," I said quietly. Elena's mouth tightened. "You did it to yourself," she said, and then she turned away, Nadia and Victor closing around her like a moving wall. Kareem drove me to my HR meeting because I still didn't have keys. My stomach churned the whole ride. Every red light felt like time draining out of my life. The HR office was in a glass building with a lobby that smelled like lemon cleaner and fake professionalism. A receptionist in a headset smiled too brightly and asked me to sign in. My hand hovered over the pen like it was the same trap as the one at the school. When I wrote my name, she took the clipboard away like she didn't want me holding anything sharp. A woman in a gray blazer appeared and said my name. "Mr. Rivera, I'm Dana from HR." She led us into a conference room that looked exactly like the school's. Table, tissues, water, a pen placed carefully on top of a stack of papers. Same choreography, different stage. My supervisor, Todd, sat at the far end, jaw tight, eyes tired like he hated being part of this. Next to him sat a man I'd never seen before. Security, maybe, hands folded, expression blank. Dana slid a paper toward me without sitting down like she didn't want to share air. "We've received a complaint," she said. "From who?" I asked. Dana gave me a thin smile. "From multiple sources," she said. "We need you to acknowledge receipt and sign this statement that you understand you're being placed on administrative leave pending review." Kareem's phone was up again. Todd's eyes flicked to it and then away, like he was grateful someone was recording what he couldn't stop. I looked down at the page. It had my name. It had my job title. It had sentences that described me like a stranger. Agitated, volatile, unpredictable. And at the bottom, under Supporting Witness, there was a name already typed in. Diego Rivera. My brother. My blood went cold, so fast I felt dizzy. The room narrowed to a single point, my brother's name sitting on a paper that was trying to erase me. I looked up at Dana. "Why is my brother's name on this?" I asked. Dana's expression didn't change. "We have a statement," she said calmly. "He contacted us this morning." Todd rubbed his forehead like he wished he could disappear. Kareem's voice was quiet now, dangerous. "This is a coordinated hit," he said. My phone buzzed again in my pocket. Not a text preview, just the vibration, urgent, insistent. I pulled it out. Unknown number. This time, the message was short. "Don't blame her. Blame him." My hands started to shake, because suddenly I wasn't sure which him they meant. I stared at Diego's name on that HR paper until the letters stopped looking like ink and started looking like a bruise. "Call him," Kareem whispered like he was trying to keep me from doing something stupid. "Right now. Put it on speaker." My thumb hovered over Diego's contact like the call itself could explode. I hit it anyway. It rang. Once. Twice. Then it went to voicemail. I didn't leave a message. I just sat there breathing through my nose, trying not to let my face show what my chest was doing. Dana from HR slid the pen closer like she didn't care who died inside as long as the paperwork lived. "If you refuse to sign," she said, "we'll note it as non-cooperation." "I'm not refusing to cooperate," I said, voice flat. "I'm refusing to confess to things I didn't do." Todd finally spoke, and it sounded like it hurt him. "Marcus, just sign that you received it," he said quietly. "Not that you agree. It's procedure." Kareem leaned in. "Procedure that already has his brother's name typed under witness," he said, phone still recording. "Procedure that uses words like volatile without a single incident report." Dana's smile tightened. "We have statements," she said. "From who?" I asked. She didn't answer directly. She just tapped the line with Diego's name. "From people who know you." That was the sixth quiet horror. Realizing your enemies don't need proof when they can borrow familiarity. I slid the papers back across the table. "I want copies," I said. "All of it. The complaint, the statement, the notes, everything." Dana held my gaze like she'd been trained for this. "You'll get what policy allows," she said. "For now, you're placed on leave effective immediately." "And if I don't sign?" I asked. Her eyes flicked to the man with the blank expression sitting beside Todd. "Security." "Then we escort you out," she said, "and your access is disabled regardless." Kareem's phone caught every word. He gave me the smallest nod like, "You're not crazy. This is real." I stood up slowly. I didn't touch the pen. "Fine," I said. "Escort me. But you'll email my personal account with whatever you're allowed to share." Dana's fingers moved fast on her keyboard. "We will," she said, like it was a promise she could afford to break. As we walked out, Todd didn't look at me. He stared at the table like it had the answer he needed. In the lobby, my phone buzzed again. Diego, finally. Not a call. A text. "Diego. I'm sorry, I can't talk right now." My thumbs went cold. I typed back so hard the screen squeaked under my fingertips. "Me. Why is your name on my HR complaint?" "Me. Pick up the phone. Now." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then nothing. Outside, the sky looked too normal. Cars passed. People carried coffee like the world hadn't just tried to erase me with a signature line. Kareem drove again because I still didn't have keys. That fact kept hitting me in waves. Small, humiliating, dangerous. Someone had made it so I couldn't leave on my own. "I'm telling you," Kareem said, eyes on the road. "This is a multi-front job. School, HR, unknown number, and now your brother." "Don't say it like that," I muttered. "Not Diego." Kareem didn't argue. He just turned down a street and said, "Where do you want to go?" "Home." But the word didn't feel safe. On the drive, a memory kept looping in my head like a glitch I couldn't ignore. An image so sharp it felt like it happened 5 minutes ago, not weeks. It was the grocery store. A Thursday night. Mia had begged for cereal with marshmallows. Elena had said no in that bright, firm voice she used in public. I'd said, "It's $5, and Elena's smile had turned into something thin and mean. At the checkout, the cashier scanned the cereal, the milk, the chicken, the shampoo. The screen flashed the total. Elena handed over my card, the one she insisted on keeping, so I wouldn't lose it. Her nail tapped the plastic like she owned it. The machine chirped. Declined. The cashier blinked, then tried again. Declined. Behind us, a woman with a toddler shifted her weight, annoyed. A man in a baseball cap leaned to see our cart like entertainment. Mia stood on my left, clutching her little backpack, face bright red with embarrassment. Elena's phone was already in her hand, screen glowing. She didn't look surprised. She looked prepared. "Try another card," the cashier said gently. Elena sighed loudly. "We don't have another," she said, eyes cutting to me like this was my fault. "He doesn't like me having access." "That's not," I started. Elena raised her voice just enough for the line behind us. "You always do this. You wait until we're in public." My stomach dropped. The toddler's mom stared at me like I was a criminal. Mia's fingers tightened on her backpack strap. The cashier's smile turned cautious. I reached for the card machine, trying to fix it. But Elena pulled the card back and held it against her chest like I'd tried to steal from her. That gesture, small, theatrical, made the whole line lean in. "That's enough," I said, keeping my voice low. Elena leaned closer and hissed through a smile. "Don't you dare embarrass me." Then she turned back to the cashier and said, "Sweet as syrup." "It's fine. We'll put some of it back." She started removing items from the conveyor belt. Milk, chicken, shampoo, like she was stripping our life down in front of strangers. Mia's eyes filled, and she didn't even wipe them because she knew crying would make it worse. That was when I saw it. Elena's thumb flying over her phone, not texting me, not calling anyone I knew, sending something outward. Proof. Performance. A story being written live. Back in the present, Kareem pulled into our apartment lot and parked. My chest tightened the second I saw our building. Elena's car was there, and another one. A truck I recognized the way you recognize your own reflection. Diego's truck. I didn't move, I just stared through the windshield until my eyes hurt. Kareem followed my gaze. "No," he said softly. "No way!" My phone buzzed again. A new message popped up from Elena, and it felt like someone pressing a finger into a wound. Elena. "Mia is with me. Don't come up here angry. We can talk when you're calm." I could taste metal in my mouth. I hadn't told her I was coming. How did she already know? I opened the door and stepped out. The winter air slapped my face, sharp and clean, like it was trying to wake me up. Kareem stayed close. "We don't go in blind," he said. We walked toward the stairwell. Halfway there, the door to my building opened. Diego stepped out. He froze when he saw me. For a second, he looked like my brother again. Same eyes, same jaw, same nervous habit of rubbing his thumb over his knuckle. Then his gaze flicked past me, up toward my apartment. And he didn't look relieved. He looked guilty. "Marcus," he said, voice quiet, "you shouldn't be here." My whole body went cold. "Why is your truck here?" I asked. Diego swallowed. His eyes darted to Kareem's phone. This isn't what you think. That line is for cheaters and thieves," Kareem snapped. Diego flinched like he'd been hit. "I was trying to help," he said, and it sounded like he wanted to believe it. "Help who?" I asked. Diego's mouth opened, closed, opened again. He looked past me again, toward the stairs, like he was scared of someone hearing us. Then, above us, my apartment door clicked. Slow, deliberate, like someone had been listening the whole time. The click of my apartment door wasn't loud, but it landed like a gavel. Diego's face drained of color. He took one step toward me and stopped, like his body couldn't decide which side it belonged to. "Marcus," he said again, softer. Please. I looked past him, up the stairs. The hallway light buzzed. My welcome mat sat crooked, like someone had shifted it with their foot and didn't bother fixing it. Then Elena appeared in the doorway. Not alone. Mia stood half-hidden behind her, clutching her backpack to her chest like a shield. Nadia was there too, one hand on Elena's shoulder like a handler. And Victor leaned against my doorframe, arms folded, wearing the kind of calm you only wear when you think you've already won. Elena's face was carefully blank. Not angry, not sad. Controlled. That was her real weapon. You shouldn't be here, she said, same words Diego had used, like they'd rehearsed them. Kareem lifted his phone higher. He lives here, he said. Elena's eyes flicked to the phone and away. You're escalating, she said, in front of Mia. I stared at my daughter. Mia, I said gently, come here, Peanut. Mia didn't move. She looked at Elena first, like she was asking permission to breathe. That was the loudest thing I'd seen all day. I stepped forward, slow, hands visible. Why is Diego here? I asked Elena. Elena's mouth tightened. She didn't answer me. She addressed Kareem instead. I don't consent to being recorded, she said. Kareem's voice stayed even. We're in a common area, and this is for his protection. Victor snorted quietly. Always the victim, he murmured. I didn't take my eyes off Elena. My keys are gone, I said. My card got declined in public. The school called me in. HR put me on leave with my brother's name under witness. And now my brother's truck is in my lot. Explain it. Elena's chin lifted. You've been unpredictable, she said, and the word felt like a stamp. Mia is scared. I'm protecting her. From what? I asked. Elena finally looked at me fully. Her eyes were cold and glossy at the same time. From the version of you that doesn't realize what he sounds like, she said. I swallowed hard. Mia, I said again, softer. What did Ms. Larkin ask you? Mia's lips trembled. She whispered, she asked if you get mad when Mom talks to Uncle Diego. The hallway went silent in a way that made my ears ring. Diego flinched like someone had slapped him. I stared at my brother. What? I said. Elena's face didn't change, but her hand tightened on Mia's shoulder, just enough to be a grip. Kareem's phone caught the whole frozen scene. Elena on the right, face set. Mia wedged behind her, backpack strap cutting into her small fingers. Victor, smug in the doorway. Diego on the steps below, pale and shaking. Me standing there with my HR papers in my left hand and empty keyring in my pocket like proof of how powerless I'd become. I could smell dinner from someone's apartment. Garlic, onions. Normal life. My life felt like it had been staged. I'm not doing this in the hallway, Elena said, voice firm. If you want to talk, you can talk in here. Calm. Victor stepped aside like a bouncer opening a velvet rope. Every instinct in me screamed no, but Mia's eyes were on me, wide and pleading, like she needed me to be steady more than she needed me to be right. I climbed the stairs. Inside my own apartment, the air felt different. Not because of scent, because of silence. The kind of silence that's been curated. My throw blanket was folded perfectly on the couch. My shoes moved. A framed photo of us on the counter turned slightly toward the wall. Nadia walked in like she belonged there. Victor shut the door behind us with a slow, deliberate click. I looked at the deadbolt. It was new, a fresh brass shine against the older door. My stomach dropped. You changed the lock, I said. Elena shrugged like it was nothing. Safety, she said. Kareem's jaw tightened. He's locked out of his own home. Elena's eyes narrowed. He's not locked out, she said. He's supervised. That word again. Supervised. I turned to Diego. Why did you talk to HR? I asked. Why is your name on that paper? Diego's eyes were wet. He looked at Mia, then away. I didn't want it like this, he whispered. Elena told me you needed help, he said. She said you were spiraling. She said Mia was... His voice broke. She said you scared her. I laughed once, sharp and ugly. So you helped her take my job? Diego flinched. I thought it was temporary, he said. I thought they'd make you talk to someone and it would calm down. Elena stepped between us slightly, positioning her body like a shield, between me and Diego, between me and the truth. You're proving my point, she said. Kareem cut in. Show him the messages, he said, staring at Elena. If you're so confident. Elena's face stayed calm, but a tiny muscle jumped in her cheek. I don't have to show him anything, she said. Not when I'm documenting patterns. Patterns, like I was a stain. My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. Unknown. Look at the iPad. Notes app. My blood turned cold. I didn't have an iPad. Elena did. It sat on the kitchen counter face down like it had been placed there on purpose, or forgotten by someone who assumed I'd never be inside without permission again. I stepped toward it and Elena's hand shot out fast. Don't, she snapped. That was the first real crack in her control. Kareem's phone zoomed slightly. Why not? He asked. Elena's fingers hovered over the iPad like claws. Mia whispered, Mom, like she was trying to stop a storm. Diego's eyes went to the iPad and then away, ashamed. I didn't grab it. I didn't lunge. I just reached out slowly and flipped it over so the screen faced me. No password. Not locked. The Notes app was open. The top note was titled, Plan. If Marcus doesn't cooperate. My throat closed. I scrolled with one finger, gentle like I was handling glass. Lines of text stared back at me like a confession that wasn't mine. Tell school counselor about heavy air, plus, anger. Use unpredictable language. Keep it consistent. HR, mention intimidating tone after shift. If he shows up, say, you're escalating. Victor can be witness. Diego, keep it short, don't add details. My vision blurred. I blinked hard and kept scrolling because stopping would mean falling apart. Then I saw another line, lower down, like it had been typed in a hurry. If Marcus asks why Diego is here, say support. Do not say relationship. The room tilted. I looked up at my brother. Relationship, I said, voice barely there. Diego's face collapsed. He didn't answer. He couldn't. Elena's mouth opened, then closed. The calm mask slid, just for a second, and underneath it was irritation, like I'd found the trap door she didn't want opened. Kareem's voice was low. This is a setup, he said, a coordinated smear. Mia started crying silently, shoulders shaking, still holding that backpack like it could keep her from breaking. That did it. That's what made my anger drain out and leave something colder behind. I turned the iPad toward Mia first, because I needed her to see that she wasn't crazy and she wasn't the cause. Mia, I said, voice soft, look at me. She looked at me through tears. You didn't do anything wrong, I said. None of this is your job. Elena stepped forward, panic flashing now. Don't involve her, she snapped. You involved her, I said, and my voice didn't rise. It didn't have to. You used her words like ammunition. Elena's eyes cut to Kareem's phone again. Stop recording, she hissed. Kareem didn't move. I looked at Diego. Tell me the truth, I said. Right now. Diego's hands shook. He swallowed hard. It started when you were working late, he said, voice ragged. She called me to talk about you, about stress, about money, about, he choked, about how you made her feel trapped. Elena snapped, That's not. Diego flinched and kept going anyway, like something in him finally broke too. She said you wouldn't listen, he whispered. She said she needed someone who understood her. I stared at Elena. My brother, I said, not even a question. Elena's face went rigid. You're twisting, she said automatically, but the words didn't land. They fell. Because the iPad was still open. Because the plan was still on the screen. Because my daughter was crying in the corner while adults fought over narratives. I set the iPad down carefully on the counter. I didn't throw it. I didn't slam it. I didn't give her the clip she wanted. Then I reached into my pocket and pulled out my empty key ring. Just the ring itself, no keys, and placed it beside the iPad like a symbol. You took my keys, I said quietly. You took my job. You tried to take my voice. Elena's eyes flashed. I'm taking safety, she said. No, I said. You're taking control. Victor scoffed. He's good, he said to Nadia, like they were grading my performance. Kareem stepped forward slightly, phone still up. Say it again, he told Victor. For the record. Victor's face tightened. Nadia tugged his sleeve, whispering, Stop. Elena's phone buzzed on the counter. I glanced down without touching it. A message preview lit the screen. Diego. He found the note. What do we do? It was like getting punched without being hit. I looked at Diego, and he looked like he was going to be sick. Mia made a small broken sound, like a hiccup of grief. I breathed in, slow, and in that breath I made a decision that felt like swallowing glass. I walked to Mia and knelt, still keeping my hands visible, still moving like the whole world was waiting for me to slip. I held my palm out. Come with me, I said gently. We're going to Grandma's for ice cream, okay? Just for tonight. Elena's head snapped up. No, she said fast. She stays here. I didn't argue with Elena. I looked at Mia. What do you want? I asked softly. Mia's eyes darted to Elena. Permission, then back to me. The smallest tremor ran through her chin. Then she whispered, I want quiet. That one sentence cracked the room open. Elena's face crumpled for half a second. Hurt, not guilt, like she couldn't stand being the villain in her own story. I stood up slowly. Quiet, I repeated, nodding. Me too. I turned to Kareem. Send this video to me, I said. Back it up. Kareem nodded. Already done. Elena's voice rose, sharp now. You can't take her. I looked at her, steady. I'm not taking her, I said. I'm listening to her. Then I turned to Diego one last time. If you ever loved me as your brother, I said, voice low, you're going to tell HR the truth. You're going to tell them you were coached. Diego's eyes filled. He nodded once, small and broken. Elena laughed. One short burst that sounded like fear wearing a mask. You think they'll believe you? She said. After today? After the school? After HR? I didn't answer her the way she expected. I didn't defend my character. I didn't plead. I just said, "I have the plan." And I picked up Mia's backpack, lightweight, pink zipper, a keychain dangling from it, and held it out to her like it was a handrail out of a burning room. Mia walked to me, slowly, but she walked. Elena reached out like she might grab her, then stopped. Her fingers curled into a fist and dropped. That was the last, silent horror. Watching a mother choose a narrative over her child's peace and realizing the silence wasn't calm. It was control. As Mia and I stepped into the hallway, Victor muttered something under his breath. Kareem caught it on camera. Diego didn't follow. The stairwell was cold. Mia's hand found mine, small and shaky, and held on like she was making sure I was real. At the bottom of the stairs, my phone buzzed one more time. Not unknown. Diego. A voicemail. I didn't play it right away. I just stared at the notification while the winter air hit my face and the world kept pretending nothing had happened. Because I knew the next part wasn't going to be a clean ending. It was going to be paperwork and hearings and long nights and the kind of war where nobody claps at the end. But for the first time in weeks, I wasn't trapped in her silence. I had my daughter's hand in mine, and I had the truth lit up on a screen she forgot to lock.